Let's bring in the attorney for the deceased husband's family, Greg Skordas. Counselor, thank you very much for joining us. Is there any chance, in your estimation, that the allegations are false, that the mom was not responsible, the wife was not responsible?
Well, I mean, as an attorney, you have to say there's a chance at anything, but the state has put together a very compelling case. They've got witness that is willing to corroborate that, in fact, she did sell fentanyl and other opioids to the suspect, and that Eric died, that the father died of opioid fentanyl addiction. There was some sort of shenanigans going on between her and him as she was trying to take some of his money away, and sort of thought that maybe he was about to leave her or something. So I think the state, certainly the county, Summit County, and the attorney's office up there, and the sheriff's office have put together a pretty compelling case. But I mean, anything's possible, Chris. You know that.
So let's talk about the backstory here and why the family believes that these are righteous allegations. Is it true that Eric did not have any history with drugs? You said fentanyl addiction. Prosecutors are saying fentanyl poisoning, and that he didn't have any other drugs in his system. Most people who overdose on fentanyl have it laced on something else. Did he have any history that would have suggested he used any drugs?
39 years old, not any history of substance abuse, alcohol, drugs, never been charged with a crime, never had a family history of addiction, never had even as a minor possession of alcohol, nothing like that. He was very healthy. He took very good care of himself. He was active in his children's soccer coaching, basketball coaching, baseball coaching. He was an avid hunter. He was involved in search and rescue here up in the mountains. This is a man who took very, very good care of himself, and there is no history from any source at all that he'd ever even touched an illegal drug.
Now, there is a suggestion, though, that he had problems with his wife and that he was concerned, and that he may have even suggested that he thought she tried to poison him in the past. Is that accurate?
That's accurate. And in fact, he told some family members that if something ever happened to him, to check out her, to make sure that she didn't get away with something. He felt that she was trying to kill him. And in retrospect, he appears to have been right.
So now the big question, why? We're going to have somebody on after you who helped put them together when they started dating. And great couple. She was so sweet, smart, loved him. How did this go so sour? And what does the family think?
Well, there's some allegation that, Chris, that she had a paramour, that she had a boyfriend the entire time they were married. Eric was a fairly well-to-do man. She came from a life where she didn't have the same means that she had once she married him. And so there was some hint, or at least some motive there, that there was some financial gain for her by doing this. We don't know why people do this kind of thing. If it was just to get rid of a problem and to inherit and get his house and get all the things that you would get if you were the widow of a fairly well-to-do man. We do know that the circumstantial evidence and even the direct evidence from this drug dealer is that she purchased fentanyl in the days, probably hours before she served it up in this Moscow Mule cocktail to her husband.
Last thing. Well, if he was so worried, he should have left. Is it true that he was worried about leaving because of the kids? They were young, and he thought that they would have been left in the care of the mother, and he didn't want that either?
Yeah, I mean, he would have done anything for his children, and he would have stayed in a miserable relationship for his children. I mean, this man, by all accounts, everything I've learned from him and about him is that being a father was the most important thing in his life. And you know this, and I'm sure a lot of your viewers know this. You know, divorce breaks up families, and it makes it difficult for parents to see their children as often as they do when they're together. So he apparently just tried to tough it out, tried to stay the course, maybe see if things would get better for them, and raise his three boys. And by all accounts, he was an incredibly good father.
Nothing worse than seeing a horrible thing happen to a good person. Counselor, thank you very much for the perspective. Appreciate it. Send our best to the family. We'll stay on the story. Hey, thank you for watching. Please go to newsnationnow.com, newsnationnow.com, and you can find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button down below. Then you will get more of NewsNation's fact-driven coverage.